fascists. I'm not going to sit and listen to you. I am not required to listen to you. You're uneducated. You're not as smart as I am. You don't have my degrees. You have no right to tell me how to look at the world. I'm leaving. Everyone sat in dead silence. It was filled up. It must have been 200 people. Ask the people who were there. I walked out. Well, the manager of the company, of that radio station rather, decided after that to never have sensitivity training again at the company. I only wish that there were some brave managers, company owners, store owners, teachers unions that would stop this left-wing disease before it kills all of us. Thanks for the call. Now let's go to John, KSFO Radio Online. John, next up on the Savage Nation.
Dr. Savage.
Yes, please, fire away.
Yes, Dr. Savage, I recently reread Winston Churchill's 6-volume magisterial study of the Second World War. And one of the things that people don't realize in the appeasement of Hitler by Chamberlain was that it was accompanied by a disarmament of Britain, France, and America at the same time. So we and Britain and France were disarming at the same time we allowed Germany to arm. And I have to follow this by saying that the only Churchillian voice in America today is you, Dr. Savage. And I've been...
No, that's quite a compliment, but I don't know that it's true. I don't compare myself to anybody, let alone Winston Churchill. But I do see I do see the battle. There are others who see what's going on as clearly as I do. Now, you're referring mainly to the vision I have about the Islamo-fascists who are taking over the world, aren't you?
Well, the difference with Britain and America is that they didn't have a disloyal opposition. They had a loyal opposition.
Yes, that's right. The Labor Party was never disloyal. They were not anti-British.
Of course,
Obama is the enemy within. He's actually anti-American while posing as an American. Because if you attack the majority of the nation every day by calling them racists, is that not anti-Americanism? What else is it?
Well, it's Wilsonian. It's exactly what happened in Europe. President Wilson, with his League of Nations, established race as the basis for understanding all national boundaries. That's why Czechoslovakia was carved up.
I didn't know that.
Yes, in fact, that was the explanation of everything. That's what balkanization means, is that recognizing races as separate entities instead of national entities, and that's why balkanization has led to the disaster that we see today.
Well, but isn't Obama balkanizing America with his race talk?
That's why race has always played it from the time of the Wilson Doctrine.
So are you saying that Obama studied under this Wilson Doctrine and he's using the same techniques?
Oh, no, it's become second nature to the socialist cause.
Are you a scholar of any kind, or are you just an interested reader? I don't know what you do for a living.
I studied in Britain. I've debated at the Oxford Union, something that you should have been allowed to have done.
No, you know about me being invited by the Cambridge Union and then being disinvited?
I do. Of course, I was in Britain at the time. I was dumbfounded, you know. But, Britain today is not what it was when I first went there in 1967. In 1967, it was a totally different country, Dr. Savage.
Well, so was America in 1967.
Well, I actually went to Britain to get away from America in 1967.
Are you originally born in America?
I was indeed. Yes, I was indeed.
And are you calling me? I know you're online. Are you calling me from a place in America or in Britain?
I am. I'm calling from. I'm a listener in the Bay Area. I listen to you on KSFO.
I see.
And by the way, I was listening to your reading from your most recent wonderful Hatfield novel, and the Minsky part with him being the double agent. That was just brilliant. I was dumbfounded as I listened on the phone to your reading it. I thought, what.
Well, nobody has ever done that fictional. No one has ever posed the concept that the Mossad would use a gangster as a front in order to throw the police off from their activities.
One of the things about Churchill is that he was a painter, all right? He had an artistic streak in him.
Yes, he was actually a fine painter.
Very fine painter, and I feel that you've got that same thing. Your sense of writing the novellas are very, very good. It gives you a common touch, which is really, really necessary to understand politics.
So, what do you currently do? Are you a retired man, John?
Actually, I'm a known international artist, and I've traveled throughout the Soviet Union and China. I went to China during the Cultural Revolution to study landscape painting, and I've done a number of things. I've resided.
I'm interested. I mean, I hear by your voice you're highly educated, unlike mine. I sound like a longshoreman who never went to college, but that's part of my charm.
I was going to call you when you spoke about Velikovsky and Lysenko. I thought, bloody hell, someone actually knows about this stuff.
There's an awful lot that I read that has to be kept. You know, the hardest. Hey, look, John, you representing the 0.1% of my audience. I remember what I said earlier, that I have to appeal to the highbrow and the lowbrow all at once, from Joe Sixpack to the intelligentsia. In virtually every statement, I have to think of this audience. That's what mass communication is all about. So apparently you're one of the 0.1% of the listeners. I have to tell you, I would love to see some of your paintings. Is there any way that you could stay on the line and perhaps share your email address with Robert or with Jim so we can communicate?
Yes, I'd love to. I would be honored. I'd be honored to do that.
And I'll tell you what, I'll trade you one of my amateur watercolors for one of your paintings. If you ever see the childish watercolors I've been painting, I think you'd be embarrassed to say that I have any artistic sensibility.
You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised. You know, it's one of the things about people of very high intellect is that they also have this common touch. They have a little bit of the proletarian in them. And that's what made Churchill so interesting as well.
If you can walk with kings and never lose the common touch, then you will be a man, my son. Remember Kipling's great poem?
Very good, Kipling. Very good.
Kipling. Well, I'm going to send you a copy of Countdown to Mecca. I don't know if you've read it yet. I think of all people, you'd love reading it. I'm glad you heard the middle passage from the book, and I look forward to receiving your email so we can communicate and perhaps exchange paintings.
Certainly.
Thank you for calling the show. That was great. Unbelievable. 18 minutes after the hour. I'll be right back.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
My Savage Nation is sponsored by SwissAmerica.com. It's the only company I trust to protect my wealth. Call 800-BUY-COIN. I want to read you a paragraph, and then I'll tell you where it was written. And it goes like this. Let's see. Now quasi-Marxist do-gooders, fearing for their lives, pick on the innocent to protect the liberty of the guilty. Overrun by the insanity of their own policies of ultra-tolerance, they choose intolerance as a quick defense. The once proud British of Churchill, the victors of the Battle of Britain, where so many flowers of Cambridge and Oxford nobly sacrificed their lives, now reduced to broken flower pots of people ruling Britannia. Overrun by people who hate them, hate their race, hate their whiteness. The broken shards of England chose to condemn an American patriot, a man who speaks of borders of language of culture. He is the enemy of the shards of England's pride. He is now the sum total of all that threatens the island's survival. This free spirit ensnared by the descendants of those bold Norsemen now fallen, their clay feet crumbling. That was the introduction to Abandoned Britain. I did that book. I don't even know how I did it in such a short period of time. It's not available for sale. I'm not selling you a book. But believe me, I've been fighting the free speech battle for quite a while. And I'm proud to tell you I'm the only member of the American media still prohibited from entering Britain, even though the conservatives won. It's a damn shame. Justin, sorry about that. I ate too many andami seeds just now. I ate corn and andami seeds in a salad. Darn that andami. Justin on WVLK Radio, welcome to the program. What's on your mind?
Dr. Savage, my grandfather passed away about a week ago, and at the funeral I heard a great story involving my grandfather and someone named Meyer Lansky, who I'd never heard of before.
You're telling me your father was in the rackets? Your grandfather was in the rackets?
My great-grandfather apparently used to own a speakeasy in Chinatown and went to school with Meyer Lansky. The story is that he had a speakeasy near another speakeasy owned by either Meyer Lansky or an associate of Meyer Lansky. Meyer Lansky knew my great-grandfather, came to him. My great-grandfather's name was Danny. He said, Danny, listen, I've known you for a very long time, but you have to shut down. Apparently someone else had tried to tell my great-grandfather to shut down, and he said no, But when Meyer Lansky came and asked him to shut down, he shut down real fast.
Well, Meyer Lansky was the head of Murder Incorporated, the Jewish gang, Murder Inc. You know that.
Exactly. And
So are you calling to ask me if Meyer Lansky inspired my fictional character, Saul Minsky?
Exactly.
Somewhat. I took a few different derivative names and put them together and mixed a few conceptualizations together and came up with a character called Saul Minsky. He seems to attract a lot of interest in the book Countdown to Mecca. I don't know why everyone likes the gangster more than they like the hooker or the clown or the character who was the hero, Jack Hatfield. Why is America obsessed with my character, Saul Minsky? I don't know. So what did your grandfather do when they shut him down?
I'm really not sure it was my great-grandfather. I know.
Well, what business did he go into? What, did he open a flower shop?
No, he owned several rental properties, and I think that's ended up what he's doing. And then my grandfather ended up becoming an accountant. And
well, Meyer Lansky was the accountant of organized crime.
He was.
Yeah, he was allegedly a criminal genius who never wrote anything down, so the police couldn't entrap him. He was smart enough to remember all his numbers in his head. Would you believe that? But let's not forget that he was a certifiable bad man. He was an evil man, not to be glorified. I want to be very clear about that. There tends to be a slippage in America today where gangsters are being glorified as they're some kind of folk hero. They're not. They're the garbage of our society. They're not to be looked up to. We have that in the thug segment of society and even in the white-collar class. Anyway, Justin, I'm going to send you Countdown to Mecca where you can see a little bit more about Saul Minsky, the Mossad double agent, and how he plays out to save the world. It's a good book. I'll be right back. Be here or be nowhere. It's the Savage Nation.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
Equipment that the federal government has in the past provided to state and local law enforcement agencies. We've seen how militarized gear can sometimes give people a feeling like it was an occupying force as opposed to a force that's part of the community that's protecting them and serving them. It can alienate and intimidate local residents and send the wrong message. So we're going to prohibit some equipment made for the battlefield that is not appropriate for local police departments.
Those that do not know the history are condemned to repeat it, so I'm giving you a little historical music, the Horst Wessel song of the Nazi Party, as a little background music to the soft-spoken president of the United States of America circa 2015. Of course he's not a Nazi. Are you crazy? Why, there are no concentration camps. Not at all. There are no brown shirts in the streets. Not at all. It's done for, let us say, attracting your attention. Then maybe you'll break through the fog of confusion, doubt, and illusion. The illusion created by the grand illusionist Barack Obama. Barack Obama is the greatest illusionist in the history of the presidency. Make no mistake about it, he's a grand illusionist. And instead of screaming in German, he talks softly. And he threatens everyone in the United States of America on a daily basis with his reign of terror, while not threatening ISIS. ISIS is taking over one city after another, and he and his sorority are telling us that they don't stay awake worrying about it at night. It's nothing. I want to play a soundbite of the worst, almost a monster. Eric Holder is probably one of the most evil men in American history. And I want you to listen to what this demonic man said before he retired, a while ago. Listen to this.
One cannot truly understand America without understanding the historical experience of black people in this nation. Simply put, to get to the heart of this country, one must examine its racial soul. Though this nation has proudly thought of itself as an ethnic melting pot, in things racial, we have always been, and we, I believe, continue to be, in too many ways, essentially a nation of cowards.
Okay, so we're a nation of cowards because he wants a conversation on race. Well, let's have a conversation on race on the Savage Nation. We've been having a conversation on race ever since Obama triggered Ferguson. We've been having a conversation on race ever since Holder and Obama triggered the burning of Baltimore. We've been having a conversation on race ever since we've seen what this administration is doing and intends to do. So I say let's continue our cowardly discussion of race on the program. And there's no better way to continue this conversation of race, this cowardly conversation of race, than to